Every Thursday evening, without fail, she arrived at precisely 7:45 p.m., the city still glowing in the amber warmth of dusk. She stepped into the restaurant like a drop of red ink in clear water, quietly, but impossible to ignore. Le Chien Rouge was the kind of place that traded in silence and slow glances, where conversations never rose above a murmur and the clink of silverware was part of the ambience. It was there that Julian worked, moving between tables like a polite spectre in black and white, balancing plates and polishing glasses with the grace of a dancer who'd long forgotten applause. She always sat at table 14 by the window. She always ordered a glass of Saint Emilion 2012. And she always came alone. Julian noticed her from the first time she came in. She didn't dress to be seen, yet something about her commanded attention. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if each gesture had already been rehearsed. She spoke little, looked even less, and consumed her meal with the serenity of a monk engaged in some sacred rite. The first words she ever said to him were, "You poured that too fast." He had blinked, startled. "Excuse me, madam?" She had looked at him then, properly, for the first time. Her eyes were neither cold nor warm, they were precise, like a scalpel. "You disturb the wine when you pour it like that. Let it breathe." He had nodded, embarrassed but intrigued. She wasn't rude, she was correct. From that evening onward, he poured her wine more carefully. Over time, Julian began to anticipate her arrival. Her presence broke the monotony of his shifts. He would find excuses to linger by her table, an extra napkin, a check on her water, a quiet question about the book she was reading. She never flirted. She never smiled, but she began to speak more little things. "Thursdays pretend to be the weekend, but they lie. I used to play piano, but I stopped when the music started to taste like dust. You walk like someone who doesn't trust his own feet." Julian found himself craving her words like a man starved of weathered truths. Her voice was low, even, uninterested in charm or approval. She never asked him a single question, yet somehow, she made him feel known. It happened in the spring, after she had been coming for several months. The trees were beginning to bloom, the evenings stretching their light longer into the streets. That night, she didn't read. She didn't even order food. She sat with her glass of wine and watched the restaurant like a queen surveying a quiet kingdom. When Julian brought her the check, she simply placed a folded napkin on the table and walked out. Inside the napkin was a single sentence. "I will be waiting." After the last guests had left and the chairs were stacked, Julian stepped outside into the cool air and found her across the street, under a flickering street lamp. She wasn't smiling. "Come," she said. She walked, and he followed through narrow streets in the quiet hush of a sleeping arrondissement. They didn't speak. He didn't ask where they were going. It felt natural, like answering a call you don't remember hearing. They arrived at a small courtyard, overgrown and forgotten by the city. She stopped. "I'm not interested in being followed," she said. Julian tilted his head. "Then why did you ask me to come?" She stepped closer, and her voice dropped. "Because I want to know if you can obey." Her words landed not like an offer, but a verdict. The next day, Julian found a black envelope slid under his apartment door. Inside, a single silver key and an address, scrawled in tight handwriting. "Midnight. Don't be early." He stared at the paper for a long time. There was no threat. No promise. Only direction, and he followed it. At midnight, he found himself standing before a heavy wooden door in a quiet building. The key turned without resistance. Inside, the apartment was lit by candles. Sparse, elegant. No photos. She was already there, seated in a chair, dressed in black. "Take off your shoes," she said, "and sit." He did. For the next hour, she gave him simple instructions. "Sit here, pour the wine, and don't drink it." She never raised her voice and never touched him. But Julian felt more stripped than he ever had with anyone. "You like control," he said at one point. "No," she replied. "I like truth. And most people only find it when they surrender something." Weeks turned into months. Always Fridays. Always midnight. The sessions deepened. Sometimes she would bind his wrists. Sometimes she would make him recite things, his fears, his memories, things he had never told anyone. There was never pain, only exposure. She never undressed him, but he felt naked under her gaze. Julian began to change. At work, he was quieter, more focused. His movements more precise. His smile had disappeared, but not as calm. He had stopped asking questions about her. Her name remained a mystery. Her past, a fog. All that existed was the now, and the now belonged to her. One night, she asked him to crawl just once across the floor, slow, deliberate. It was absurd, humiliating. He did it without hesitation. When he reached her feet, she said, "You think this is about me. But it's about you. What you were without the mask." Julian didn't reply. He didn't need to. Then she vanished. No message and no note. Weeks passed. The restaurant felt hollow. The nights were too quiet. Then, one morning, a package arrived. Inside, another key. Another address. A single card that read, "You've obeyed, now see." The new place was underground. Stark. White walls. She appeared after an hour, said nothing, just pointed to the chair. "Look," she said. He stared at his reflection. "Who do you see?" "Someone who obeys." She walked behind him, placed her hands on his shoulders. Not enough. Not yet. She began to give him tasks. Outside the apartment. Days without contact, then a message: "Wait here, speak to no one, hold this posture for 30 minutes. Once, she had him serve strangers in a rented room, in silence, masked, while she watched from behind a screen. Each test peeled something away. Ego and fear. Until Julian began to feel not broken, but clean. Obedience wasn't submission. It was freedom. She never told him what he was becoming. Only that he was. And that, someday, he would thank her. It ended on a rainy night. Or maybe it began. She handed him a final note. "You no longer need my voice. Only your silence." He wanted to speak, to beg. But she shook her head. "You have the key now." He left without turning back. And every Thursday night, he still sets a table for one. Just in case. Not to follow. But to obey. And that is the end of the story. If it left you curious, uneasy, or wanting more, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. More stories are waiting. And some of them are already watching you.